important to know what you're working with and how the different tools will affect what you're using or what you're doing. What I'm finding out now is that right here, where the scapula kind of overhangs I think it's the 9th rib, maybe the 4th or 5th, there's a bit of a midtone that kind of belongs there that I didn't initially plan for. And it's very easy to sort of come back and just lay in a sort of veil of value. And it'll look much, much, much darker if I already have the lights in. And that's really important for me to be able to distinguish that. Now, as opposed to before, whereas if I made it the same value as the shadow here, it would look like a hole in the figure. And I sort of touched on that briefly, but we're going to talk about that much, much more. And I'm going to be bringing it up with nearly every single drawing you guys do from now on, because I've seen it done, like nobody really knows why it happens, but for some reason when you're conceptualizing the form just value on paper, as it turns around, there's all this like big splash of light near these lightest light areas like here. And if this was as dark as the shadows, I'll just show you up here. You can see if I hold up the pencil, that's true shadow. And if I go over that midtone with this, do you see how it's barely significant compared to how dark the shadow is? So take that into consideration when you're modeling form on the portraits, on your figures, on pretty much everything you do. So the way I counteract that is I really commit to the form slowly turning and adjusting the values, as opposed to optically contrasting, top to bottom or left to right. It's a huge difference in approach, and the results are much, much different as well. On some of these edges here, it's nice to come back and just soften them up with some light layering of the charcoal. So it's not really, it's not like I have to work at it for it to just slowly start to mesh. It's really just barely touching it, just kind of smudging the charcoal around. I sort of shy away from using my hands or too much sort of muddling around back and forth, but when I layer things go much, much quicker. Like that would be an extent that I use something to sort of kind of the paperwork's actually exceptionally well when I'm doing that. But I really shy away from doing that too much because you can lose your form so fast, and then it just becomes this really messy, kind of muddled drawing. Whereas I'd much rather err on the side of making it so crystal clear and kind of sterile, if you will, so that later on, when you guys really invest a lot of emotion into a drawing, you can smooth those things out without even worrying about the fundamentals of the drawing. So the white pencil. That's okay. So this one is a little bit scratchier, which I actually enjoy a bit more. It leaves a bit more of the brightness on there. Whereas the other one is a little bit waxy and somewhat transparent. This is much more opaque. And you'll see that this actually will affect the value scale a bit in order just how all of the form is interpreted. It's kind of a continuing wave of relationships. So if I adjust one thing, it'll all of a sudden drop something else down. Do you guys have any questions?
What kind of charcoal are you using?
I'm using vine charcoal, and I believe it's Brumbacher, the brand. I'm using the grade, soft grade, and I use that to tone the canvas, and I also use it to draw with as well. The other real critical thing is I always use a stick of charcoal that's slightly bigger than If I use anything smaller than that, it's much harder to kind of balance it in my hand, and then it becomes more like a crayon tool. And to me, that's sort of defeats the purpose of drawing on the easel, and defeats the purpose of the material as well. The other thing that eventually you guys can build up to is, while you put in your white chalk accents, you can really use it as a tool to find anatomical landmarks. This is the back of the figure, and it's a bit softer than let's say the front, where you have like the sternal notch and the zaccoid process and like the clavicle, where you can really start sort of hopscotching and getting like little significant landmarks that will help you build the rest of the figure. So, and a lot of times they're highlighted, they're really light in color, which makes it a bit easier to kind of get those in that way. So that could be like that. You can remove the lights, and that's helpful. But then at a certain point, what's even more helpful is actually getting in some of these like anatomical landmarks that you wouldn't normally see if you just had your mediums and your darks. Like that. Which is nice. It sort of locks the figure in, and then you can do the beautiful modeling that takes much more time. You don't have to worry about chasing the pose, which is a big danger and very in drawings that you have really flexible materials. So any other questions before we kind of go back to drawing? The other thing I wanted to touch on was the secondary light source. So right now there's a light coming from down here, and there's a light coming from up here, two opposite directions. This one down here is a bit more like this direction. Right? So it's almost facing us a bit more. And the way that I gauge this value scale is I squint my eyes a little bit and see which has the biggest range. So I'll go from the darkest darks here up to the lightest lights here, and that's a really full range. I really feel like I'm using the majority of this. At a certain point, I'll look on the other side, and even though it's a secondary light source, I don't feel like it's nearly as brilliant as the one up here. So what I'll do is I'll drop my key to be a little more compressed, so that maybe it exists more in a range like only this big. And the way that I do that is just pick an area that's the lightest light. That might be the biggest turn. The light's coming from the bottom, so the areas of light that are going to hit the most direct is much lower. So I'll set it up that way and try not to get too dark or too light. So I only need a few sort of hot spots to really teach me that, okay, that's the extent of my value range, because this one, is really pulling all the stops out, making it as absolutely bright as possible. This one is much more subdued, so that everything in between is going to have a much softer, slower gradient. And you can see the latissimus dorsi